Busy, busy, busy. Wow, there's a lot of activity in the hangar today. I'll show you some of that, and I do some more modifications and other stuff to my Challenger 2. Thanks for watching.
Okay, busy day here at the hangar. A lot of people working. Go take a little walk around. And before I start, like and subscribe and leave a comment. So let's take a little walk around the hangar again. A lot of people here working on airplanes. That's a good sign. Follow me. Okay, so now we're going to sneak behind here, and I'm going to film them without them knowing, sneakily. We're working on the cowling on the Emerald, as you can see. There we go. Say hello to YouTube, guys. Hello. Hey, YouTube. So the cowling on the airplane is getting fitted. You know there's work getting done when you see Clicos. Clicos is the sign. That's the secret thing that says, hey, you're working on airplanes because you got Clicos.
It's the universal symbol of progress.
That's right. So how is the progress on the Emerald?
I think we're making great progress. Fitting the cowling is something we had no experience with, so we're absolutely indebted to Ernie for pitching in here and helping us out. We were actually starting from the wrong end instead of the front end. But tip for everybody out there, when you're fitting your cowling, start from the front. That's where your prop fits. That's where you have to have the tightest clearance, and then we'll make everything else fit from there. It's going to look great.
Oh yeah. It's going to look fantastic when it's finished. It's going to be a nice airplane. Very nice airplane. So I'll leave these guys to their work. And I'll turn this back on. There we go. I leave them to their work and not pester them anymore. And I'm doing a little bit of work on the I'm working, of course, on the panel. And we had some clearance issues to clear up. We had some clearance issues. Basically, fitting parts on that we thought would fit in a particular spot, and no. But hey, that's okay. We'll roll with it.
Plans are for changing. That's what plans are for.
I changed my layout on my panel 4 times before I finally came to the where it is right now. So this is really the first change. So we got to expect 2 more changes before we start cutting holes. So alrighty, I'll leave these guys to it. Looks like they're making excellent progress there. And over to the other side of the hangar. All right. As you can see, I took the nose cone back off again. Got to do some more work with that. But I really want to get this nose cone on permanently. And in order to do that, I have to make some changes in electrical wiring. And one of the changes I have to make is because of my fuel sending unit. My fuel sending unit that I ordered has a low level output. And you can program that so that when there's like 10% or 15% of the fuel left, it'll trigger an output. I didn't know that when I put everything together. So I'm going to take one of my indicators, probably the transponder fuse or something like that, and I'm going to retest that for a low fuel output. And that means doing a little bit of rewiring, not much, just a little bit of rewiring, and flipping a switch on that little circuit board that I made. But before I do that, I got to establish what is coming out of that fuel sending unit. I believe it goes low when it's active. So I got to put a test meter on that and see. Right now the tank is empty, so we will see if the output is low now. I'm going to assume that is going to be that way, and if it's not, because the way I designed that circuit board, I can, with the flip of a switch, change it from going low to going high, or whatever the input is. I can accommodate them all. Yeah, that's what I'm going to do right now. So I'm going to put this camera back in the tripod and get to work on it. Again, thanks for following along. Appreciate it, and hope you enjoy the show.
A few moments later.
Forgot my radio on. Sorry, I had to move you. Yeah. Oh, it's positive 5 volts. That's the line from the fuel sending unit that's tied to the low-level output. And right now I'm reading 5 volts DC. And the fuel tank is empty. Good to know.
A little longer than a few minutes later.
It's time to take the airplane off the stands. I don't need them on the stands anymore.
And this gives me the opportunity to narrate. So I call a friend over, and I get him to help me remove the stands. The front were very easy because, of course, the front of the aircraft is very light. And then we just simply lift it up and remove the stands one at a time on the rear. You don't need tools for this. It's an ultralight. They're very light. And now I am removing that black box that controls the annunciator lights. And I'm removing it because I have to make some modifications to it. And these modifications are so that it'll accommodate the low fuel sending. It's got the capabilities. I just need to do a tiny bit of rewiring inside of it to accommodate that, and I'm also going to have to do some testing to make sure I'm going to be hooking it up to the right input that I'm thinking of doing, and that it lights up the correct light that I want it to light up. And yeah, then I will have a low fuel light on my dash when it gets down to I'm thinking 15%. Anyways, enough warp speed. Back to normal.
6.5 hours later.
Okay, boys and girls, back. I've been here in the hangar for about 6 hours now. I didn't film a lot of it because it was just mundane stuff. I'm sure you guys would be interested in watching me drill holes and pop rivets and trace wires out. I showed a little bit of that, I think. Anyways, the little black box that normally sits over here is gone. And that's what controls the annunciator that tells me I've got a blown fuse or all that kind of stuff. Like I said earlier, I'm going to be retasking one of the lights for a low fuel output, which comes from the probe, and there's the wire. And so, yeah, I've removed it. I'm going to be taking it back home, because I'm going to have to do some soldering and rewiring of that in order to accommodate that additional input. And yeah, so then I decided, another mundane task I've been looking at doing is adding a glove box, so to speak, tool box, whatever you want to call it. Let me show you. Let me pick you up here. Sorry for the shaky camera work. Okay, so on the back seat, above the fuel tank, let's get this going here. Above the fuel tank is this little bit of empty space area that goes back about 17 inches, 16 inches around there. You know, a little kind of a shape here. This fuel hose obviously blocks from making it bigger, but I'm making a glove box or toolbox or whatever box to go here. That slides in, and then there's going to be a door with 1 or 2 Zeus fasteners. I think I'm going to hinge it at the top and put the Zeus fasteners at the bottom, so if the fasteners ever come loose, it doesn't just flop open. It kind of stays closed by itself. And then below that will be just completely just normal, sealed in, what have you. The seat back is a wooden seat back over here that needs to be put in yet. So that's what I've been doing. And let's take a little walk over here and show you what I've made. I've made the glove box, or the toolbox. And there we go. That is going to fit, because it's narrower at the top than at the bottom, it's going to fit in that space above the tank behind the passenger. So, something I've discovered, I suck at working with aluminum. This is 2024 T3, and you're supposed to be able to bend it, and you can. But if you go a little too far and you try to bend it back, that's when it cracks. Yep, happened a bit to me, so I had to redo it a few times. I'm going to put you down and have a little seat here. Excuse me, sorry for the shaky and unprofessional camera work. There. Looking straight into the camera. There we go. So yeah, I thought I'd occupy my time with that, because it's another thing I want to do is to put a storage, something up there. It's going to store probably very few things, maybe some tools, you know, the tool kit, or whatever doesn't fit underneath the pilot seat, where now I've got that box. That underneath the pilot seat, I'm hoping it's large enough to put my headset in. I'm going to bring my headset next time I come to the hangar and just try it out. But the rear passenger, I am removing the joystick, not permanently. I'm going to make it so that it's removable and reinsertable. This is simply because if I have a passenger in the back, having the stick waggle around on them when they're flying, it's kind of disconcerting. I'm going to be doing that. I'm also going to be putting in a bit of a floor space for the passenger for 2 reasons, so that they don't get things caught on, you know, the control cables or the torque tube or any of that kind of stuff. Let me show you again. As I pick up this tripod, and let's see, I'll explain what I'm going to be doing here. All right, this space here, the passenger, normally there should be no issues with it, but I want this to be out of the way of the passenger. So I'm going to cut this, put an insert, and have this tube removable, and just put it back in with a pin and a cotter pin there, just something so that can be removed and taken out. That's why I did not put a push to talk on here. The push to talk for the radio is up here for the passenger, if the passenger is a pilot. So I'm going to be putting a plate across this space here, aluminum plate, to block that off, and I'm going to put a little blister on that plate here. And the blister will be large enough that I can then remove it, leave it in place, and have full deflection and control. Or when I take this thing out, it'll cover that little nub, and now the passenger who's sitting here, there's no worries of them catching on these wires and that kind of stuff. Secondly, and I've been thinking about this right from the beginning, the passenger's feet go here, and I have these visions of their heels going through here. So I'm going to make a plate that goes down here and lower down, of course, for their feet, and so that if their feet slip off of these pedals, they don't go through the floor of the aircraft or mess around with anything else. So, yeah, a little bit of cosmetic work. It's going to add a few ounces to the weight of the aircraft, but I'm thinking in the terms of safety, first off. Keeping a passenger who may not be a pilot or a flying passenger, or this is all new to them. I don't want a chance of anything getting snagged or what have you for the rear passenger. For the most part, that's not a concern because there's so many of these Challengers flying. I don't think people have really had that as a concern. But I don't want to be the first. So I thought, you know what, I've got some extra sheets of aluminum around here, and I'm just going to cut them up and fit them in here and fasten them down so that it covers it up and makes my rear stick removable, and it'll be stored in this new box that's going on here because the length of the stick is going to be about 12 inches and the box itself is 14 inches deep, so lots of room for the joystick. That's probably also where I would carry maybe a bottle of oil and maybe the tool kit, or maybe a survival kit. Who knows? If there's a survival kit, there won't be oil. So, yeah, there's a few extra modifications being done to this, and this is something I've been thinking of right from the day one that I want to do. And now seems like a good enough time to do that. So, yeah. That's it for this edition. I'm not sure how long or how short this is going to be. That'll be discovered in editing. And thank you again for following along. I do appreciate it. And hope you guys get something out of this with my little modifications. Maybe it inspires you to do the same. If it does, let me know. And yeah. Oh, and by the way, the Cotton Patch, another YouTube channel, and Challenger 2 owner just upgraded to the 17-gallon fuel tank. Congratulations! Nice job. You're gonna enjoy that. I'd like to see how your weight and balance works out with that. If there's any really big changes, that kind of stuff, because I haven't done my weight and balance. But looks like I did a nice smooth job on his. And from his pictures and from the questions I had for him, it really reinforces the fact that these are hand-built, amateur-built experimental aircraft, because he didn't have the same issues I had mounting the tank with clearance between these tubes for these fittings. His seemed to fit in much nicer. Maybe the newer Challengers are wider? I don't know. It's hard to say, but his definitely, by the looks of it, fit in there much easier. So, yeah, it was great that he could. Oh, and one other thing, I'm going to have to look at his pictures again, but I think this tube here that he has is removable, whereas mine is riveted in. I hadn't thought of drilling that one out and removing it for the installation. Of course, if I had, there's no way I could have riveted it back in. Yeah, each Challenger is slightly different in its build, and his looked like it was easier to mount the tank, which is great. A lot less hassles and headaches than I had. So, yeah, again, thanks for following along. Appreciate it. And I will close this off for now. Keep your stick on the ice. Bye-bye.
Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode. It was certainly a busy day in the hangar, as you can see. Thanks a lot for watching. Remember to like and subscribe and leave a comment. We'll see you again. Bye-bye.